Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I hope you and your family are well and safe. Welcome to another session of Octane Virtual Meetup, where we focus and talk about IBM Planning Analytics, which is also known as TM1. When we started virtual meetups, we initially planned to do this once every quarter, but with the feedback we received last month, we have decided to do this once every month. We have also received different ideas from the users on what they would like to see in virtual meetups. And based on users' feedback and popular demand, in today's session, we'll be focusing on top 20 tips and tricks for IBM Planning Analytics users. I would like to start the session and introduce myself. My name is Samir, and I work for Octane Software Solutions as a managing consultant here in Sydney, Australia. I have been working for Octane since 2016. But with IBM Planning Analytics Solutions, I have been working since 2007, which is almost 17 years now. 13 years. I'm a certified IBM Planning Analytics developer. Apart from being an architect for numerous large global projects, I've also been a project manager, wherein I have managed both the on-site and offshore resources. I've also managed upgrade projects for IBM Planning Analytics, including migration from on-premises to cloud. I have not mentioned in this slide, but I have a great interest in conducting IBM Planning Analytics training sessions. I have done numerous training sessions on IBM Planning Analytics for basic users, intermediate users, and advanced users in perspectives, packs, and workspace for both analysts and developers. My email is mentioned in the last line of the slide. Please feel free to shoot me an email in regards to today's session or anything related to IBM Planning Analytics. So the agenda I have for today, basically two things. One, I'll quickly go through about Octane, who we are and what we do, and then I'll jump into top 20 tips and tricks for IBM Planning Analytics users. Octane, who we are an IBM Gold partner. We have 6 offices, out of which 2 offices are in Australia and 4 in India. Octane head office is based in Sydney, Australia. We have more than 40 certified IBM Planning Analytics consultants in our 6 offices, and together we have delivered more than 100 projects successfully. Octane, what we do? Our 4 key areas of expertise are providing consulting, development, support, and training. Our office in India has 24/7 support center, wherein we manage our global clients all year, all day. We also provide virtual IBM Planning Analytics training sessions as well. So let's get things started. So today's topic, I'll be covering top 20 tips and tricks. But before that, I would like to start with a general tip. As today I'll be going through TM1 tips and tricks, I thought I'll start with a general tip. Have you ever wondered when you arrive at a petrol station, which side of your car is the fuel tank lid located? Well, the answer lies in a small symbol on your dashboard that you may have overlooked. Just look for the little arrow or a triangle near the picture of your fuel dump. The arrow indicates which side of the car the fuel tank lid is located. If the arrow points right, the car fuel tank lid is on the right. And if it points left, then it's on your left. I hope this tip will be helpful when you go to the petrol station next time. Okay, with that, we'll jump into the top 20 tips and tricks. What I'll do for this session is I'll go backward 20 to 1. My personal favorite out of these 20 items is number 1. So please stick around to see what I have for number 1. I'm sure this is something you might not have seen before. The first 5 items in my list, it will be more focused on IBM Planning Analytics administrators or developers, but the remaining 15, it will be more focused on IBM Planning Analytics users. I have an average 2 to 3 minutes for each item. I will do my best to cover all the topics with examples within the allotted time. So for number 20, what I'll do is I'll jump into the TM1. All right, so one of the most common questions in IBM for IBM Planning Analytics administrator we hear from the users is, my numbers are different to what it was yesterday. So that's something which we commonly hear from our users. So how do we tackle this? So before that, let me open a cube. So this is a dummy instance running on my laptop. So what I'll do is I'll open a cube, maybe say a sales cube. And let me change a value for Canada from 0 to maybe say 100. Okay, now how do we track who has made the change for this particular cell? So what we can do as an administrator is we can simply right click on this instance name and look for this option called view transaction log. And we have a few options to select. So there is a start time and end time. So what I'll do is I will select, okay, since say maybe from Monday until now, I will probably for clients, there is a star, which means all the clients. And for the cube, because the user is complaining about a particular template or a cube, so we know which cube we have to look for. So what I'll do is I'll look for this cube called sales cube. Right. And then it's asking me if there is any particular intersection which I know I'm looking for. Now we can ask the user and for the particular intersection which they are looking for. So based on the user feedback, I know it is for actuals. It is for the month of March. And we know that is the country, the region is Canada. Okay. Okay, so the more we know, the better it is. But let's leave it to that, and let's leave the model and accounts to all. And let's click on this OK button. Right. Sorry, let me do this again. Maybe I think I might not have selected something. Okay, so I'll right click on this, view transaction log. I will select the client is all, the cube is sales cube. Right, so actuals, month is March. It's for, I'm going to delete that. Right, so I was hoping to see something here, but I'm not sure. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I might select right, just X cube. Right. So basically, I think what you'll see here is you'll see all the transactions which the users have keyed in. Say, for example, the old value was 0 and the new value is 20,000. And you can see pretty much all the changes what the users have made. So because the admin has made all these changes, we are able to see okay, who the client was and what time they made the change, and the cube name, which is sales cube, and it also has got the intersection of that particular value which the user has changed. So the old value, the new value, the name of the cube, and the intersection. So by this, we could easily track which user has made the change on a particular cube or even a particular intersection. So that's one thing I would like to show. The other thing is, let's say we take a slice of this. And so that was just one transaction. Now let's assume we look into March, which is a consolidated value, and I press C and I press enter, which is basically to clear the value. Right, so now March is gone. Now let's say the user has come back and said March values are all gone. Can you please check who has made the change? Now we'll do the exact same thing what we did, but this time we want to make sure that we have to get the values back into the cube as well. So I'll go to view transaction log. I'll do the same thing. And I'll select the sales cube. And let me try this now. If hopefully this time it works. Right. Okay. So there is a series of transactions which I can see here. That's so what we can do here, if we have to get the values back into the cube, either we can select one transaction at a time. So for example, I can say select, so you can see a small tick. So similarly, I can do for each transaction, or I can even select all like this, and I select this option called backout. So basically this will bring the values back into the queue. Now I am looking to a different intersection here. This is not the actuals, but the concept is same. So once I select the intersection which I would like to bring back the values, and then I select all these transactions, and as you can see, there is a tick, and then I select this backout. So once we do that, the values should come back to the queue. Then I'll close this. Now because it was forecast, now probably I will not be able to see the values. But the basic idea is transaction log is basically used to track which user has made the changes. And apart from that, it can also be used to back out the transactions back into the queue. So both the things can be done by using this transaction log. Okay, that was number 24. So maybe I'll move back to the slide. So number 20, we have this transaction logging and backout. So basically, as we just saw, that by using transaction logging, we can track the changes made by the user, including the date and time and the cube intersection. And we can use the backout feature to bring back either just one single transaction, or we can even bring back series of transactions, like a bulk transactions back into the queue. So number 19. Okay, I'll go back to the Excel. Okay, how do we monitor users who has logged in, and also how do we monitor if the users are running any processes, or even we have to disconnect the users from IBM Planning Analytics. So what I'll do is I'll just jump into so when we install IBM Planning Analytics, when we go to this specific location, the program files under TM1 64 and bin 64, and look for this a tool called TM1 Top. So this, when you search for TM1 Top, you will find two files. One is the config file, which is basically the INI file, and one is the exe file. So probably you can open this INI file, which is the config file, and set up the instance name. In this case, I have put as sdata. And once you have saved that, you can double click on this exe file. So this is a tool, probably if you have say 300, 400 users, and probably you can track what users are doing by using this tool. Now let me log in as one user. Okay, so I've logged in as admin in the instance called sdata. Now I'll log in as say another user called Lisi. So once a user logs in, you will see the user Lisi is now popping up in this TM1 Top. Now let's say Lisi is using TM1, and let's say she is running a process. Say, for example, this. Now when Lisi is running a process, you will see that it's popping up here saying, okay, Lisi is running a process. Now, if that process is going on for too long, for some reason, there could be a possibility that the other users could be on hold or wait, by which they will not be able to use TM1. So as an administrator, we have to make sure that we have to somehow disconnect or maybe kill this process. So what we do is we press letter V on your keyboard. So when you press letter V, it will ask you for your user ID and password. So I'll put my username and my password. It will tell you that the admin access has been verified, and press any continue. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll press the letter C for cancel, and then it's asking me to cancel the thread. So the thread ID. So as you can see from the screen, so Lisi's thread ID is 17952. So I'll type in 17952 and press enter. So you will see the process has now stopped, and I'm looking from the Lisi's point of view, and Lisi will get a pop-up message saying process has been cancelled. So this way, you can basically kill processes of other users. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is, if the user is idle, then you can even disconnect them from this TM1 application. So again, I'll press letter C, and now I will type the thread ID as 17952, which is basically the thread ID here. And when I press enter, you'll see Lisi has been disconnected. Now for Lisi, when she's using this TM1 application, when she clicks on anything, it will just throw her out. So either they could be in workspace, or they could be in TM1 web, or perspectives, or architect. Basically, it will disconnect that user from the application. All right, so that's number 19, which is basically TM1 top. If you are using IBM Planning Analytics on local or even on cloud, probably you can use Workspace. Within Workspace, you will have an admin portal where you can go and do. You don't have to press C and V, but you will have a similar look and feel where you can right-click a user and disconnect the user, or you can even cancel the processes what they are running. So if you're on Workspace, you could use the admin portal within the Workspace, but if you're not using, then you could use this tool called TM1 Top, which should be in your install location, which is the program files. Okay, number 18. Okay, there could be a requirement. We would have heard this from the users or even from the super users asking the developers, can you please check if any specific element has got rules written to it? Say, for example, there could be an element called target or budget. Can you tell me, okay, there could be 50 cubes, and they will be asking the developer, okay, check all the cubes and let me know if this specific element, say budget or actuals, have we got any rules written to it? Now, one option is, yes, we could, if it's a small model like this, yes, I can go and quickly check whether any rules are there by simply, okay, by which I can quickly able to tell the answer. But what if it's a complex model with, say, 100 or more than 50 plus cubes, and each cube has got maybe 100 lines? So it's going to be difficult to check each and every cube rule and then search for that particular element. So there is a way around by which we can search very quickly. So what I'll do is, the first thing we might have to do is I'll jump into the, say for example, I'm looking into the SmartCo instance, and I want to see, as you can see, SmartCo has got about a bunch of cubes. So what I'll do is I'll go to the data folder, and then I will search for the rule file. So I'll copy all the RUX files, and then I'll just create a folder called rules. Then I'll paste all the RUX files. Right, and then I'll copy this location where my rule files are there. Then what I'll do is I will open an application called Notepad++. Right, and then I'll click on this search, find in files. I'm going to paste that location, and maybe I'll look for the word called target. Now that's an element called target in the version dimension. I want to see this element called target, how many rules and which cubes has got it. So then I click on find all. So it's going to look for RUX files, and it's going to give us the results. Now here we go. So instantly now I can see this element called target in how many places and which cubes I have got roles. So there are some target versus prior year actuals as well, but that's good to know then how many any word called target in how many cubes I have. So you can see I've got it in the metrics cube, I have got it in the rate BOM cube, revenue matrix cube. So all the cubes pretty much it's going to list you. So this way, probably you can easily analyze and you should be able to answer the user and tell them, okay, it's sitting in X number of cubes and it's sitting in X number of rules. And this is also another way of maybe if you want to clean up your versions, sometimes we tend to not delete because we think there are some rules. This way you can maybe do a quick check and see if any rules are written for specific versions. If it's not there, probably that's one way of analyzing and think maybe we can delete those versions which doesn't have any rules or feeders written to it. So that's number 18, basically searching the elements using Notepad++. 17. Right. So what I'll do is before I talk about this, let me open a cube called maybe revenue cube. Right. Okay, so when we open any cube in TM1, we normally see any cell which doesn't have a value as 0. And when we do the suppress 0, basically TM1 ignores all the null values and it compresses the view. But what if I don't want to see the zeros and I just want to see a blank cell? So what I'll do is maybe I'll introduce, there is a statement called undef. So simply by having this one statement called undef vals and click on save, you come back to the cube, you will notice all the zeros are now disappeared. Now, even if I press suppress 0, you will notice it's doing exactly the same thing as it was doing before. But one thing you'll notice here is if I type a value here, which says say 700, and then press recalculate and then do a suppress 0, yes, we're going to see the 700. But what if I delete that 700 now? Now 0 is also a value. So now TM1 will store that in this view. So if I do a suppress 0, we will see that 0, it will hold that value. But if I don't have the undef, right, and then when I press suppress 0, that 700, the cell which was holding that 700 is no more now. But anyway, so in short, I think if you don't want to see zeros, which normally as the default TM1 displays in all the cubes, this is one statement probably you can use in your environment and see whether that something is applicable. And maybe you can play around in dev first and see what implication it has before you implement in prod. So that's number 17, undef val. Okay, number 16. Okay, so let's assume we have a very complex security model in our instance, and we would like to make a set of users to have read-only access. Say there are 300 users, and now we want to make 200 users read-only access. And because we have a very complex security model, now what is the way which we can make 200 users out of 300 as read-only access? Probably in few clicks, instead of going through all the security cubes. What is the best way of making it a read-only? So as we know, TM1 has got control cubes. So maybe if I expand this. So to see all the control cubes, we will click on view and display control objects. So within this control objects, we have a cube called client properties cube. So we have a cube called client properties cube. Now within that, there is an element called read-only user. Now by default, it will be 0. But if you make from 0 to 1, so that means that user will become read-only access. So technically, if that user has got write access to any cubes, yes, there are security you might have in the dimension security or even the client group cubes cube. So all those this cube will basically take the precedence of all the security model what you have got. So let me maybe log in as one of the user called user1. Log into S data. And I'll open the cube called sales cube. Now, as you can see, I have logged in as user1, and I will try to change this value from 0 to 11. Yep, I have access. Now, as an admin, I'm going to make this user1 as read only. So by having that 1, recalculate. Now coming back to this, when I press 12, so it will not allow, even though yes, the user will still see white cell, but because we have made him as read only, now he will not have access to any cube within the model, and because we have basically made him as read only. As it might be a bit confusing here that because we still have white cells, but that's how it is, I think. But if you want to make a user read only quickly, I think that's one way of doing it, which is simply open the client properties cube and change the value from 0 to 1. So that was number 16, basically read only user. In number 15, let me jump back into Excel. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take a slice of the cube, maybe say sales cube. Take a slice. What? So when we have a slice from the cube, basically we can apply conditional formattings where we have this different types of conditional formatting with the data bars, or we can use the color scales, or we can use the icon sets. So those are pretty cool to use. But on top of that, we can also use other symbols, which is basically when you click on this insert and this symbol. So basically we can use all these symbols in our conditional formatting. For example, let me take one, which is this one. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll put an if condition here saying, okay, if this value is greater than 500, then I want this to be that symbol, else I'll just say blank. So as you can see that I've used one of the symbols. So pretty much any symbol from this we can utilize in our if conditions, and there are a lot of arrows up and down, and on top of that we can also apply the normal conditional formatting by having some different colors. So that's one way of doing it. Or we could even use the this one side. Right. So within the Windows operating system, you have this keyboard. So if you press that and press this symbol, and probably you can use even this emoticons. So for example, I can use, say, for example, this. So even that could be used in your if conditions. let me go back to the cube. So what is another good thing about this is that you can apply this symbols in your cube view as well. So when you write an if condition in your cube view, for example, I'll pick up the sales cube and okay, I've written a rule here for indicator saying if the October sales is greater than 1,000, then I've got this symbol. If not, I'm going to use this symbol. Let me click save. Sales cube. So as you can see, it will appear on your cube view as well. And I can even take a slice of this. And you will find that symbols within the DBRW formulas. Now you can see we have those emoticons. Right. Wow. Right. So that was number 15. Basically, the using symbols and emotion icons, where we call it as emoticons. If you use workspace, then it will be a bit colorful as well. So the same rule, what I've written, if you write it in workspace, you will find that icons appearing on workspace like this. It will be a bit more colorful. Okay, number 14. I think I might have to hurry up a little bit. Right. So when we open any cube, right, of the views or subsets, for example, I'm looking at sales cube. I find, okay, let me open the sales cube. And when we go to the drop down of the sales to see which view, and sometimes you have more than 50, 100, it becomes really hard to find your specific view or your specific subset. So as a best practice, or maybe a way of organizing your views and subsets, is basically having your initial. So for example, if I want to save this, I will put my initial as Syed, and I'll say this is my report. So if I have this initial SS in all my views and subsets, so now it becomes easy because I know all my views and subsets will start with SS. So that way I can quickly scroll down to my views, private views, and the same goes for the subsets as well. So if you have subsets, so if you have say 100 or 200 subsets, it's again difficult to navigate to your subsets. Make sure that when you create subsets, maybe have some letter or maybe as an initial, as I mentioned, that way it's easy to find your subsets if there are more than 50, 100 subsets within that list. So that's number 14, which is basically using your views and subset by having the initials. Okay, number 13. Okay, probably I'll use this one. So when we slice a view or a cube, we normally see this DBRW formula followed by this cell intersection, which is fine, I think, because it's going to give us the value from that intersection. But what is hard to know here is if you press F2, then probably you know, okay, which cube or which intersection it is coming from. But one good way of writing DBRW formula is instead of having this B1, B2, the cell references, you can name the cells. For example, that's my cube. I can say S cube. That's my version. I can say that as S version. That's my, I'm going to say S account. That's my model. I'm going to call it as. And then in your DBRW, instead of using B1, I'm going to use S cube. Instead of B2, I'm going to use S version. Instead of A8, I will leave it as it is because that needs to go down. And when it comes to B4 S model, B3 is my S account. And then I'll press OK. And now I'll copy this. So now when you see this DBRW formula, it's easy to read. OK, that is my cube. That's my version. Followed by, OK, there is a cell reference, which is fine because I have to refer the left side. Then I have the account. So now you can see this is much more easy to read than looking at something like this. So try to name each and every cell and then use the reference cell reference in your, whether it's DBRW formula or any TM1 Excel functions. That was number 13, naming cells, which becomes easy to read the TM1 formulas. Okay, number 12. Okay, when we want to send values, let me just hard code this, copy and paste special values. When we want to send these values to TM1, yes, one way is writing a TI process, but I've seen some clients still use this old-fashioned DBS formula, which is used to send values into the queue. Basically, DBS, by using DBS, you can send a value, which is, for example, this, into the intersection which we want to send. For example, that's the queue, and then we also have the dimensions as well. So anyway, I don't want to write the complete statement here, but once you have got this, you press F9. So this value, whatever value you have, for example, 100, will go inside this cube and to this particular intersection. So which is fine, I think, which will work for you. But what if someone opens this cube and they go to this intersection and they change from, say, 100 to 500? Now, then the next day you open this file. So whatever the changes they have made, say 500, this 100 will go back again. So that's too risky to have a DBS formula in your Excel file, because every time you open this file, especially if you have this formula set to automatic, it's going to send the values back into the T1 cube. So if you have to use these DBS formulas, make sure you put this extra layer on top of this. Basically, you can say data load, and then you can have a conditional formatting call. No. And then I'm going to call this as switch. And then when you write your DBS formulas, you basically put an if condition. If the switch equals S, then we want to do this DBS, else you just say blank. So if it is yes, and make sure when you save this book, you always save with the data load as no. So if it is no, you can see this DBS will not trigger. So you can save this file. So next time when you open this file, you know this cube or this DBS will not send the values back into the cube, because you have to click on yes and then press Shift F9. And if AutoCalc is switched on, then as soon as you say yes, the values will go back. So maybe make sure when you use DBS formula, have this extra layer, maybe kind of a switch to say data load yes or no. That was number 12, basically the DBS with if condition. Okay, in number 11. Okay, maybe I'll use this. Okay, so to export TM1 data which is sitting in all these cubes, we know there are many ways to do it, which is one is you can open the cube and then you can slice this, or you can take a snapshot, or you can even press the active form as well. Or even you can write a TI process to export the data which is sitting in this cube. But or even you can have REST API to pull the data out of this TM1 cubes. But there is one option which is very easy to use, is this export as text data, because this will give you the flexibility not only in exporting what intersection you want to export, but it also has some conditions which, if you're going to put, say, anything which has got, say, $5,000, the intersection, I need only those values exported. Or even if you can export some string and you can have that text limits in there. And then you can also have this on the left side, whether you want to skip consolidations or skip rule driven values. So you don't have to ask a developer, whereas you can right click and export bulk data out of TM1 queue into a CSV file. And if you select all, basically you're going to trying to pull all the data of TM1 queue. So be specific on what you're trying to export. Maybe I just want to export budget, specific maybe month or region or year. And then if you have any conditions, you can put here and then click on export. It will come out in a CSV file. So that's one easy way of exporting your data out of TM1 cube. So that was number 11, which is exporting TM1 data out of the cube. Number 10 I have is, I have to rush it. Right, so we know when we slice a cube, we get this dbrw formula, and we also get this sub-nm function as well. But probably I want you to explore other formulas as well. For example, I can use a formula called TM1 user, and then I'll put the instance name, which in this case it is sdata. And you will find the user who is accessing this report, his name will pop up. Now, why this could be useful is if you're building your dashboards, you can have something like this, welcome, and then you can say the username to, you can hide this somewhere on the top. So when they open this report, their name pops up as the welcome. And apart from that, probably you can utilize this dim-nm. Maybe I'll give you a few quick examples. Tab dim, and we also have this D type. Maybe I'll quickly go through this. LF. So let's say I have all the elements from the Smart Core instance. So if I want to know what is this element, whether it's at C level or it's at the N level, you can use this from Excel function called dtype. The name of the instance is Smart Core. The name of the dimension is this, and then I'll point out this. So you can see here it is C, and if I copy that across this, you'll see whether it's C or N. C means consolidation, N means the lowest level. Now I can even use this in other functions as well. So L level, basically, it tells me which level that element is. So this is level 2. And I'll click this. So you can see this is the lowest level. This is one level up. This is the next level up. And probably you can use the L bar as well. So that will tell me how many parents each of these elements have. So you can see here it has got one parent. And to retrieve that, you can use the L bar, which will tell you what is that parent is. Maybe I don't want to use, I want to move to the next one. So as you can see, I think apart from this, the normal dbrw formula and the sub-nm, try to use this other Excel TM1 formulas, including TM1 user, or try to find what dim-nm and tab dim does, and also there's other Excel formulas. So there are maybe close to about 25 Excel formulas for TM1 in Excel to be used. And so maybe try to use others functions apart from this normal dbrw formula or sub-nm. That was number 10, which is Excel TM1 functions. Number 9, probably I'll quickly go through this one as well. So this. Let me open. So we know there are 3 types of reports we have in TM1, which is slice, snapshot, and active form. I want to open the active form. So this is just to show you the full power of an active form. Maybe try to utilize this at your workplace, because I know majority of users, they use slice and snapshot a lot, but active form is something really powerful report by which you can make your reports more dynamic. For example, I'll just quickly go through a few examples. So here I'm looking at a report which is looking at all the sales accounts. If I want to switch the description from no to S, you can quickly see I've got all the description now. So this is an active form, which is really powerful. That's probably why I want to just go through the options I have in here. So now I'm looking at profit and loss. I'll click OK and refresh. And now you can quickly see now I have a profit and loss report. If I switch that to from profit and loss to balance sheet or cash flow and press refresh, I'm going to get those reports. Now within one report, as you can see, I can build my profit and loss, cash flow, and balance sheet all in one report, simple by having drop down. And I can also have the hierarchy switched from no. So if I want to see the balance sheet, the top level at the okay. So this way you can also have switch here, yes or no. Whether I want to drill or expand or collapse, I can switch on and off, or as you can say, the description is also switched on and off. So try to use active forms and see the full power of this. I think this active form runs with this function called TM1 RPT row, which drives this this whole active form. So that's probably what I have on my list, which is number 9 is active form. For number 8, I'll go back to the same active form. When we slice and press active form reports, sometimes it becomes really difficult because we know for slice we have to press Shift F9, and for active form we have to press Alt F9. So one way of tackling this is by having a action button. So if you go to the TM1 ribbon and click on this action button and use this option called calculate or rebuild. So automatically rebuild the sheet is Shift F9 and rebuild sheet is Alt F9. And because this is an active form, I'll use this rebuild and then I'll put the description as refresh. So now next time when I open this report, I don't have to worry whether I have to press Shift F9 or Alt F9 because I know I have a button. By simply clicking on that, it will refresh the report for me. So for example, if I switch from balance sheet to say profit and loss, then I click on this refresh. So that's basically my Alt F9. So this will give me my profit and loss report. So simple to use. So go to TM1 and action button. So that was number 8, which is action button. Number 7. I'll go back to TM1. Sorry, my PC is getting really slow for some reason. Give me 1 second, let me close all this. Okay, so for number 7, I'll quickly go through this. We've got another 10 minutes, right? So when we go to the TM1 perspectives, we have something called applications. Now I know not many people they use this, but this is really a good feature to have, especially for the users. Or where, for example, I can right click on this and I can say create new application, which is basically creating a new folder, and I'll put my name. And as you can see, there is a symbol, which means it is private folder, which only I can see. Now within this, I will create a bit more, another few subfolders. I'll say cubes, I will say dimensions. I can also have subset and all the things. So what this will help me is if I have my favorite If I have my favorite view, which I normally open on a daily basis, so for example, the revenue cube, I can simply drag this. I can simply drag this and I can put it in the cubes. Then if I have some subsets which I normally use on a regular basis, say for example, the account, within the accounts, I use this leaf level a lot. Drag this, and I can pretty much take other cubes, dimensions, subsets, and I can keep it in this. So what this means is I don't even have to come to this section, which is the cubes and dimensions. Rather, when I log into TM1, I can quickly go to this application folder. I can navigate to my folder, and then within that I have my subfolders where I can quickly navigate to my views, subsets, and it could be processes as well, or even you can have some URLs as well. If you have your TM1 web, you can keep that as a shortcut, or you can even have say, google.com and then name it. And then by that, you can have all your shortcut, any favorite TM1 blog site like Octane, we have a blog site. So if you want to subscribe or maybe keep that as your favorites, because we keep posting blogs once in a while, that way you can come here and click on that Octane blog site and it will take you straight to that. So it's very handy. Not many people have seen use, but if you start utilizing this, I'm pretty sure you don't even have to go to these cubes and dimensions, rather that you will be playing around within this application folder. Was number 7, basically application folder. Number, sorry. Okay, number 6, I have shortcut keys. So if you have a cube view, you want to play around with data spreading. There are a lot of shortcut keys, like if I use R and greater than symbol, and then if I press 500, you will see all the cells has got 500 on the right side. If I use R and a pipe symbol and 500, or 500 will go down. Then if I use R less than and 500, and you'll see on the 500 will come. So you can use this R and with the greater than, less than, or a pipe to move your or spread the data left, right, top, or bottom as well. You could also use growth as well. So if I put GR and then if I put a greater symbol and then 5,000 and then :3, which means I need a 3% growth on the next month, then 3% of that value is the next one. So similarly, I can put I can increase the initial value of by 3%, and then it will keep going until the end of the month. But if I want to use this, let's say maybe I'll use one more example, which is if I put GR, which is a growth, and if I put the greater symbol and the pipe symbol, and then say 5,000, you'll notice that now I have done the growth of 3% starting from 5,000. Next cell is 3% of 5,000 is 150, so 5150, and then it has put a 3% on pretty much on every cell. And then from here, the next cell is using 3% of that, and then it has just gone all the way down. Now you could use this in Cube Viewer or a TM1 Web workspace, or even a slice report as well in Excel. So that's a quick shortcut you could use to spread the values quickly. The next one. So basically that was shortcut keys. Right, I'll quickly go through. So number 5 I have is and another feature which not many people are using is when you open this cube view, you could basically use this filter and then say I want to have the top 5 elements which has the highest value. So you can use that, and you can see it has got the top 5. And if I use the bottom 5, it's going to give me bottom 5, or I can switch off this. I can use ascending and descending. If I use descending, you can see the highest value is at the top and the lowest, and the same can be applied for ascending as well. So that's a good feature to use if you want to do a quick filtering on your cube view by using this option called filter. Right. Okay, number 4. Right. So for number 4, I might have to use this MDX statements. So when we use this MDX statements, we do a record and we record a series of actions, and then we save that as a dynamic view. So if I use, because I don't have time to sit and type this, so what I'll do is I'll just simply copy and show you some of the things which we can apply. For example, this statement will give me all the n level, which is pretty easy. If I use this statement, you can see I'm saying, okay, give me all the n level, but with the name or the word starts with MA. So anything which starts with MA. So I got this too. I can even filter on attributes as well, where I'm saying, okay, if all the lowest level and the attribute as plant A. And the last one, which probably I want to show, is this is the one which is basically you can do even filter on a specific cube value as well. I'm doing a filter on this dimension organization, give me all the n level, and then I'm saying go to the revenue cube and look into this intersection. And if the value is less than 50,000, give me all the elements. So if I click update, you will notice. So you can do a like in a normal relational database, you'll put a select star from or the fee column names from the table name. So similarly in MDX, you can write a query which is go to this cube, go to this intersection, and find if the value is greater than something. Then based on that, you can get a list of elements as well. So that's the number 4 with MDX queries. Number 3, so I will take another 3 minutes. I think I should be able to quickly wrap this up using subset. So let's say I have this hierarchy and I would like to have, say, Canada, Mexico, and Argentina. Then I'll select those 3, and then I'll normally use this custom rollup, which is fine to use, which I can see I've got these 3. But what if I want to use this with a specific name? So what I can do here is I could select this 3 and then save this as my favorite 3 countries. Right. So that's a subset called my favorite 3 countries. But what I'm going to do here is I'll delete all this. Is I'm going to paste that. Okay. So just one sec. Yeah. So let me do one more time. So here you can see now that has become that subset has become an element called my favorite 3 countries, and it has got those 3 elements. So this is a one quick way of, if you want to have your own consolidations, you can simply create as a subset and then have that subset name in your subset editor. But if you try to find that element within this, it will not find, because that's not a physical element, but rather it's a virtual element by which you can use in your cube view, or even if you slice this, it's still going to work, and including the data spreading as well. Right, so that's number 3, using subsets as elements. Number 2 I have is So let's assume I have this report, which has got all the countries and I have all the months here, and I want to build this report for all the models. So as you can see, I have about maybe I'll take one in this one, the consolidation. So I want to have about 20 reports or maybe 10 reports for those 10 consolidations in probably few clicks. So what I'll do is in this TM1 add-in, you have an option called print report. So when you click on that, it will ask you for three things. So basically step one is sheet one. That's the sheet I have. And then it's asking me, okay, what is that I want to use to build the loop through the elements. So I'm going to use the model. I'm going to move it on the right. As soon as I moved, you will notice that the number of sheets it's going to produce is 51. But what I can do is I can reduce that 51 to maybe only to those which I will need, maybe only those 10. I'm going to save that as 10. And now you can quickly see that 51 will come down to 10 or 9, those 9 elements. And then I have the option whether I can have all the reports in one workbook with 9 sheets, or I can have 9 workbooks as an option as well. So for this example, I'll just go with one book with 9 reports. Again, a few options: save as Excel file with the DBW formulas. I will say no, I just need a snapshot. And if I give the location, click finish, it's going to give me 9 reports within probably 2 or 3 seconds. So that's called print report, which is very useful if you want to produce your cost center reports. 50 or 100 can be done very quickly within probably a matter of seconds. You will have 50 reports or 51 report with 50 sheets very quickly. Okay, the last one, which is my favorite. What I'll do is I'll jump into this thing called report. Right, so here we can see we have a slice report from sales cube, and these are all DBW formulas. Now, this is a good one to see that I can see the sales by my locations. But what it will be good is if I can have a world map next to it, like a Google Maps, for example, I can quickly able to visualize all these numbers. So what I'm going to do here is I'll select this intersection, and then within Excel you have this thing called Bing Maps, which is basically this. Now this will only be there maybe in Office 2013 or maybe Office 365, I think, which is 2017, I think, or 16. So if I click on that, you'll see the Bing Maps will appear. Now, because I have made that selection, so I'm going to select this and refresh. So within 2 clicks, as you can see, now I have all the Western Australia postcodes, actuals and budget. Actual is basically in blue and red is budget. I can even zoom in into the locations and see what's happening within that locations. Now, so that's for Western Australia. If I switch this to, there is a drop down here. Just change this to. So now I can see postcodes for New South Wales. So this is within the New South Wales states of Australia. So I can see quickly navigate to the stores. I click on this and I can see within Australia, this postcode 2113 has got the actuals and budget is 1800. I can even switch this to bird's eye, where I can even see the location as well. I can even zoom in as well. So there are a few more options here where I can set the actuals color and budget color as well. I can even, so postcodes are easy to link, addresses easy to link. I can even go down to cities as well. So now I've got all the United States locations, or I can even go down to the countries. Just go back to the normal. So you can see, you can quickly visualize all your, if you have too many locations all over the world, then this could be very simple to use. Simply select the elements which is coming out of TM1. So if I change within TM1 from March to say April, March to maybe Feb, and then refresh. As the values are refreshing, you'll see even this the visualization will update as well. So if you have to present this to your board meeting, then probably you can hide this, present this, have the filters, and then as you select the different filters, click refresh, and you should be able to see the map, whether it's the postcode or street level or city or even country as well. So quickly you will be able to navigate. So I've taken extra 5 minutes, so that's all I have for this top 20 tips and tricks. So thank you everyone for your presence. I hope the session was very productive and useful. As I mentioned at the start of this session, that we are planning to conduct these virtual meetups every month. I hope to see you all next month. Please be safe and take care of yourself and your close ones. Enjoy the rest of your day. Until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.